The message arrived at 3 in the morning, Earth time. It came from 30 light-years away, carried by emergency beacon, and it contained nothing but a single voice speaking words of farewell. Elder Solia of the Renmari spoke calmly as her world burned behind her. Fire painted the sky orange. Ships fell from the clouds like dying birds. Her people ran through streets they had built with patience and love over 10,000 years. To anyone who receives this, she said, the Kasari Dominion has come for us. We have no fleet. We have no weapons. We are builders and healers, not warriors. By the time you hear this, we will likely be gone. We do not ask for help. We know none will come. We simply wanted someone to know that we existed, that we tried to be kind. Goodbye. The message ended there. In a dark room on Earth, Admiral Diana Cole played the recording 3 times. She was 62 years old. Her hair had gone gray. Her hands had grown steady from decades of command. But when she heard Solia's voice, those steady hands began to shake. She remembered the stories her grandmother used to tell. Stories about running from war. Stories about refugee ships with broken engines and hungry children. Stories about the gentle aliens who found them drifting in space and brought them to safety. The Renmari had saved her grandmother. They had saved 10,000 humans when humanity had nothing to offer in return. They asked for no payment. They signed no treaties. They simply saw people suffering and chose to help. Cole stood up. She walked to her window and looked at the stars. "Get me the council," she said to her assistant, "and tell the Third Fleet to begin mobilization." For hours later, she stood before the United Terran Council. 12 leaders from 12 nations watched her from their seats. Some looked tired. Some looked confused. One looked annoyed at being woken so early. "The Renmari are under attack," Cole said. She played Solia's message for them. The room went silent. "This is unfortunate," said Counselor Hammond. "But the Renmari system is far from our territory. The Kasari Dominion has never threatened Earth. Why should we involve ourselves in a distant war?" Cole looked at him. She did not blink. 40 years ago, she said, humanity was running. We had just survived our first interstellar war. Our colony ships were damaged. Our people were starving. No one in the galaxy would help us. We were too weak, too poor, too new. She pressed a button. A hologram appeared showing old footage. Renmari ships surrounding human vessels. Renmari doctors treating human children. Renmari workers repairing human engines. "The Renmari helped us," Cole continued. "They gave us food when we were hungry. They gave us medicine when we were sick. They gave us shelter when we had nowhere to go. The Kasari attacked their colonies for helping us. They lost 3 worlds because they chose to protect strangers." She turned off the hologram. "They never asked for anything. They never reminded us of what they did. They simply helped because they believed it was right." Cole's voice grew hard. "And now they are dying. Do you want humanity to be the species that forgets? The species that takes kindness and gives nothing back?" Counselor Hammond shifted in his seat. "What do you propose?" "I am not proposing anything," Cole said. "I am informing you. The Third Fleet will mobilize within 6 hours. We will reach Renmari space in 3 days. We will repay our debt. And if the Dominion destroys you," Cole almost smiled, "then they will learn what happens when you threaten people that humanity loves." The council voted. The decision was not unanimous, but it did not need to be. Military command rested with Cole, and Cole had made her choice. Across Earth's orbit, ships began to move. Destroyers and carriers and cruisers formed into squadrons. Marines loaded into drop ships. Pilots ran to their fighters. Word spread through every vessel like fire through dry wood. The Renmari were in danger. The Renmari who had saved their grandparents. The Renmari who had asked for nothing and given everything. On the bridge of the destroyer Long Memory, Captain Leo Santos received his orders. He was a thin man with cold eyes and a perfect record. He kept a small notebook in his breast pocket. In that notebook, he maintained 2 lists. The first list contained every species, every nation, every individual who had ever shown humanity kindness. The second list contained every species, every nation, every individual who had ever done humanity harm. Santos opened the notebook. Under the first list, the Renmari had always held the top position. Under the second list, he now wrote a new name. The Kasari Dominion. He closed the notebook and looked at his crew. "Set course for Renmari space," he said. "Maximum speed." "Sir," his first officer asked, "what are our rules of engagement?" Santos thought about Elder Solia's voice. He thought about his grandmother's stories. He thought about what it meant to be human. The Renmari showed us mercy when we deserved none, he said. We will show their enemies exactly how much that meant to us. The long memory jumped to faster-than-light travel. Behind it, 300 human ships followed. The largest fleet humanity had ever assembled moved through the darkness between stars. They were coming to repay a debt, and the galaxy was about to learn that humans never forget. Warlord Dren had conquered 11 species before his 40th year. He had burned cities and broken fleets and watched entire civilizations bow before the Kasari dominion. Victory, to him, was not an achievement. It was simply what happened when he arrived. The Renmari conquest was supposed to be easy, a formality, something to occupy his forces while the Dominion prepared for larger wars. That he stood in the command chamber of his flagship, the Eternal Fist, and watched the planet below burn. Renmari cities crumbled under orbital bombardment. Their pathetic defense satellites had lasted perhaps 10 minutes. Their ground forces had surrendered after the first wave of troops landed. Weak creatures. Soft creatures. They built beautiful things and healed the sick and cared for children, but they could not fight. They had forgotten that the galaxy belonged to the strong. Strategos Tuvin approached from the sensor station. He was Dren's tactical advisor, a careful male with a talent for seeing problems before they became disasters. Warlord, Tuvin said, we are detecting unusual activity at the edge of the system. Dren did not look away from the burning planet. Define unusual. Ships, my lord. Many ships. They emerged from faster-than-light travel approximately 4 minutes ago. Reinforcements from another Renmari colony. No, my lord. The signatures do not match Renmari vessels. They do not match any known species in this region. Now Dren turned. His yellow eyes narrowed. Show me. The holographic display shifted to reveal the edge of the star system. Hundreds of ships had appeared in perfect formation. They were smaller than Kasari vessels, built with strange angles and aggressive lines. They moved toward the planet with obvious purpose. Who are they? Dren asked. Before Tuvin could answer, a transmission came through on all frequencies. A female voice spoke in accented galactic standard. This is Admiral Diana Cole of the United Terran Fleet. 40 years ago, the Renmari people sheltered our refugees when we had nothing to offer in return. They asked for nothing. They lost 3 worlds protecting us from your dominion. We swore to repay that kindness someday. Dren listened with growing amusement. You have attacked our friends, Cole continued. You are killing those who showed us mercy. Withdraw now, or we will demonstrate how humanity honors its debts. The transmission ended. Dren laughed. The sound echoed through his command chamber. His officers looked at each other uncertainly. Humans, Dren said. The young species from the deathworld? They come to threaten the Kasari dominion. He laughed again. Tuvin, how many ships do they have? 312 vessels, my lord. Primarily destroyers and cruisers. A few carriers. And we have 500. Plus ground forces already established on the planet. Dren waved his hand dismissively. Destroy them. Then continue the invasion. My lord, Tuvin said carefully. Perhaps we should learn more about these humans before engaging. They come from a death world. Their homeworld has extreme gravity, toxic atmosphere variations, and I do not care about their homeworld. Dren interrupted. I care about results. Attack. The Kasari fleet moved to intercept the human formation. Dren expected the humans to retreat when they saw his superior numbers. Lesser species always retreated when faced with overwhelming force. The humans did not retreat. They accelerated. The first Kasari ship exploded 3 seconds after the battle began. Then another. Then 5 more. Human weapons fired faster than Kasari sensors could track. Human ships moved in patterns that seemed chaotic but struck with devastating precision. Dren watched his display with growing confusion. This was not how battles worked. Inferior forces did not charge superior ones. Small ships did not destroy larger ships. Prey did not hunt predators. What are they doing? He demanded. Tuvin's voice had gone quiet. They are fighting like they do not fear death, my lord. A human destroyer took heavy damage to its forward section. Instead of pulling back, it accelerated directly into a Kasari cruiser. Both ships vanished in a ball of fire. They rammed us, an officer whispered. They deliberately rammed us. More human ships pushed forward. They absorbed fire that should have destroyed them and kept shooting. When one fell, Two more took its place. They fought with a fury that Dren had never seen in any species. That on open channels, the humans began to speak. Not screaming, not panicking. They spoke calmly, almost peacefully, repeating the same words over and over. We remember. We remember. We remember. Dren felt something he had not felt in decades. It took him a moment to recognize it. Fear. Warlord, Tuvin said, we have lost 47 ships. Human losses are significant, but they are not slowing down. They are pushing through our center formation. How is this possible? Dren snarled. They are younger than us. Weaker than us. Their technology is inferior. Their technology may be inferior, Tuvin replied. Their will is not. Another Kasari ship exploded. Then another. We remember. The human voices chanted. We remember. Dren made a decision he had never made before in his military career. The word tasted like poison in his mouth. Retreat, he said. All ships retreat. We will regroup and return with the full force of the Dominion. The Kasari fleet turned and ran. Behind them, the human ships did not pursue. They held position around the Rinmari planet, forming a protective wall between the survivors and the retreating enemy. Dren stood alone in his command chamber as his fleet fled. He had underestimated the humans. He had thought them soft because they came to protect others instead of conquer. That he understood now. The humans were not soft. They were something far more dangerous. They were loyal, and the Dominion had just made enemies of a species that never forgot. The drop pod hit the ground hard enough to crack stone. Sergeant Nadia Webb kicked open the hatch before the dust had settled. Behind her, 12 Marines followed into the burning streets of a Rinmari city. Fire was everywhere. Buildings had collapsed into rubble. The air smelled like smoke and something chemical that made her eyes water. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear weapons fire. Kasari ground troops were still here, still hunting survivors. Webb checked her rifle and started moving. Her orders were simple. Find civilian shelters, evacuate survivors, kill anything that got in the way. Movement ahead. One of her Marines reported. Looks like Kasari patrol. 8 soldiers. Take them, Webb said. The firefight lasted 9 seconds. Human Marines were faster, stronger, and far more aggressive than the Kasari expected. Deathworld reflexes met Softworld soldiers, and the result was not close. Webb stepped over the bodies without looking down. She had no hatred for individual Kasari soldiers. They were just following orders. But they stood between her and the people she had come to save, and that made them obstacles to remove. The squad moved deeper into the city. They found bodies in the streets. Rinmari bodies. Tall, slender creatures with silver skin and large dark eyes. Healers. Teachers. Artists. People who had never held a weapon in their lives. Webb felt her jaw tighten. Her father had died in a refugee camp 40 years ago, killed by the stress of running from one war zone to another. Her mother had been pregnant and sick and alone. The Rinmari had found them. They had taken her mother to their medical facilities and cared for her until Nadia was born. Nadia Webb existed because of Rinmari kindness. Every step she took through this burning city was payment for that gift. Sergeant, a Marine called. I found a shelter entrance. Collapsed building on top of it. Get it open. The Marines worked fast. They moved rubble with their hands when tools were too slow. After 10 minutes, they broke through into a basement shelter. Inside, they found 30 Rinmari, mostly children. They huddled in the darkness, their large eyes reflecting the Marines' helmet lights. Some of them were crying without making sound. Others simply stared, too shocked to react. One young male stepped forward. He was barely adult by Rinmari standards, thin and trembling, but trying to be brave. Please, he said in broken galactic standard. Do not hurt them. Take me instead. Do what you want to me, but spare the children. Webb removed her helmet. The Rinmari flinched, expecting a monster. Instead, they saw a human face. Brown skin, dark eyes, a small scar on her chin from a training accident years ago. My name is Sergeant Nadia Webb, she said gently. United Terran Marine Corps. We are here to help you. The young male blinked. Help? But why? We are nothing to you. Webb knelt down so she was at eye level with him. What is your name? Kieran. Kieran, listen to me. 40 years ago, your people saved mine. My mother was dying on a refugee ship. Your healers kept her alive long enough for me to be born. She touched her chest. I exist because of your kindness. Every human on those ships exists because you chose mercy over indifference. Kieran's eyes went wide. We never expected repayment. We helped because it was right. I know, Webb said. That is exactly why we came. She stood up and addressed her squad. Get them out. All of them. We have transports waiting at the extraction point. The Marines began moving children. Some of the little ones were too scared to walk, so the soldiers carried them. One massive Marine, a man who could break bones with his bare hands, cradled a Rinmari infant so gently that the child fell asleep against his armor. Kieran watched this with something like wonder. I do not understand humans, he said. Webb smiled slightly. We remember kindness, Kieran. We remember cruelty too. Your people showed us who they were when we were weak and helpless. Now we show you who we are. And who are you? We are the ones who pay our debts. They moved through the city toward the extraction zone. Along the way, they found more survivors. Some were wounded. Some were trapped. The Marines freed them all, carrying those who could not walk, protecting those who could. At one point, they encountered another Kasari patrol. This one was larger. 20 soldiers with heavy weapons. Webb did not hesitate. Protect the civilians. I will handle this. She moved forward alone. The Kasari opened fire. She dodged, rolled, returned fire with perfect accuracy. Deathworld reflexes. Deathworld strength. Deathworld rage at those who would hurt the innocent. The patrol died in under a minute. Kieran stared at her as she returned to the group. You fought 20 soldiers alone. I grew up on Earth, Webb said simply. Gravity twice as strong as your world. Air that can kill you in a dozen different ways. Predators everywhere. We learned to fight before we learned to speak. She looked at the Rinmari children being carried by her Marines. Small, fragile, innocent. Your people looked at us and saw something worth saving, she said. We looked at you and saw something worth protecting. That is the nature of humanity, Kieran. We do not forget the ones who showed us mercy. The evacuation continued through the night. By morning, 3,000 Rinmari had been pulled from the ruins of their city. The debt was beginning to be repaid. Counselor Mira had spent 60 years studying alien species. She had written papers on the psychology of predators and prey. She had advised the Galactic Assembly on first contact protocols for dozens of civilizations. She thought she understood how the universe worked. Then the humans came, and she realized she understood nothing. She sat in her private office on the assembly station, watching footage from the Rinmari system. Human ships charging into superior numbers. Human soldiers carrying alien children through fire. Human medics treating wounds on creatures that looked nothing like them. None of it made sense. She pulled up humanity's file. Young species. Deathworld origin. Barely 300 years since they discovered faster-than-light travel. By galactic standards, they were infants. They should be concerned with survival, with expansion, with securing their own future. Instead, they had sent their largest fleet to defend a species that could offer them nothing in return. Counselor, her assistant said from the doorway. The human ambassador has arrived. Send him in. Ambassador David Okoye entered with calm confidence. He was a tall man with dark skin and gray hair at his temples. His eyes were sharp and watchful, missing nothing. Counselor Mira, he said pleasantly. Thank you for meeting with me. I had little choice. Your fleet is causing quite a disturbance in assembly space. Mira gestured to a chair. Please sit. I have questions. Okoye sat down with the patience of a man who had answered many questions before. I expected you would. Mira leaned forward. Why are you doing this? The Rinmari cannot help you. They have no military value, no strategic resources, no advanced technology. By every rational measure, defending them is a waste of your forces. With respect, Counselor, you are thinking like a politician. Okoye's voice remained mild. We are not politicians. We are humans. And what does that mean? It means we remember. Okoye clasped his hands together. 40 years ago, humanity was dying. Our colonies were failing. Our ships were breaking down. No one in the galaxy would help us because we had nothing to offer. We were weak. We were desperate. We were alone. He paused, letting the words sink in. The Rinmari found our refugee fleet drifting near their space. They could have ignored us. They could have turned us away. Instead, they brought us to their worlds. They fed us. They healed us. They repaired our ships. When the Kasari attacked them for helping us, they did not blame us or ask us to leave. They simply accepted the consequences of their kindness. Mira frowned. That was 40 years ago. Times change. Alliances shift. Most species would have forgotten by now. Humans are not most species. Something hard entered Okoye's eyes. We remember every kindness shown to us, counselor. We write it down. We pass it through generations. We tell our children stories about the people who helped us when no one else would. The Renmari are part of our history now, part of who we are. And if someone wrongs you, Mira asked carefully, do you remember that as well? Okoye smiled without warmth. What do you think? A chill ran down Myra's spine. She had read about human history, their wars, their grudges, their absolute refusal to forgive certain offenses even after centuries had passed. The Kasari Dominion attacked the Renmari, she said slowly. They are now your enemies. They made themselves our enemies when they tried to destroy the ones who saved us. And what will you do to them? Whatever is necessary. Okoye stood. The Dominion will learn that there is a cost to harming humanity's friends. Other species will see this and make their own choices. Some will treat us with kindness. Some will not. We will remember either way. Mira stood as well. You are asking the galaxy to fear you. No, I am asking the galaxy to understand us. Okoye moved toward the door, then stopped. We are not conquerors, counselor. We do not seek empire or domination. We simply want to exist peacefully among the stars. But we will not stand by while good people suffer. We will not abandon those who helped us. And we will not forgive those who try to take our friends away from us. He turned back to face her fully. The question every species must now ask themselves is simple. What have you done to humanity? Have you shown us kindness? Have you shown us cruelty? Have you ignored us when we needed help? He shrugged. Whatever you have done, we remember. And someday, we will repay it. In full. After he left, Mira sat alone in her office for a long time. She thought about the footage she had watched. Human ships sacrificing themselves. Human soldiers fighting to the death. Human hands reaching out to save alien lives. She thought about what it meant to be remembered by such a species. Then she began writing her report to the assembly. Her conclusion was simple but terrifying. Humanity honors every debt. The galaxy must decide what kind of debt it wishes to owe them. She sent the report to every world in the assembly. The message was clear. The warning was given. The humans were watching, and they would never forget. 6 months passed like the calm before a storm. The Kasari Dominion had not been idle. Warlord Dren had returned to his homeworld in disgrace, faced the Supreme Council, and demanded resources for a proper campaign. He had been humiliated by primitive deathworlders. He would not rest until every human ship was burning metal in the void. The Dominion gave him everything he asked for. 2,000 warships, 500,000 soldiers, enough firepower to glass a dozen worlds. Now that Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Renmari system, and Dren stood on his bridge with satisfaction burning in his chest. Scan the system, he ordered. Show me what remains of the human fleet. The holographic display flickered to life. Dren expected to see a weakened force, depleted after months of occupation duty. Instead, he saw something that made his satisfaction turn cold. The human fleet had grown. Ships from every human colony had arrived. Destroyers and cruisers and carriers formed defensive lines around the Renmari homeworld. And among them, scattered throughout the formation, were vessels from other species. Small contingents, token forces, but their presence sent a message that echoed across the galaxy. Humanity did not stand alone. How many ships? Dren demanded. Approximately 800, my lord, Strategos Tuven reported. His voice was carefully neutral. The human core fleet has been reinforced by volunteers from species they have aided in the past. Volunteers. Dren spat the word. Who would volunteer to die for these humans? The Kelori sent 20 ships. The humans defended their colony from raiders 5 years ago. The Varadi sent 15. The humans provided disaster relief after their planet suffered volcanic eruptions. There are others. Dren stared at the display. The humans had built a coalition not through threats or treaties, but through simple kindness. They had helped others, and those others remembered that IT changed nothing. 800 ships against 2,000. The math was clear. Attack, Dren said. All forces attack. The Dominion Armada surged forward. The largest military force the Kasari had ever assembled moved like a wave of steel and fire toward the defenders. Admiral Diana Cole watched them come from the bridge of her flagship. She was older now than when this began. Tired, but her eyes burned with the same determination that had launched the first fleet 6 months ago. "All ships," she broadcast. "This is Admiral Cole. The Dominion has come to finish what they started. They think their numbers will break us. They are wrong." She looked at the officers around her. Men and women who had left their homes and families to fight for people they had never met. People their grandparents had never met. Today we show the galaxy what humanity truly is. We remember kindness. We repay cruelty. We do not abandon our friends. Her voice hardened. We remember. Say it with me. Across 800 ships, voices rose in response. Human voices. Kalori voices. Varadi voices. Different species speaking the same words. We remember. The fleets collided. The battle that followed would become legend. Human ships threw themselves into formations that should have been suicidal, breaking through Dominion lines to strike at command vessels. Boarding parties launched from carriers, Marines pouring into enemy ships to fight hand-to-hand in the corridors. Captain Leo Santos commanded the Long Memory at the heart of the fighting. His destroyer had taken heavy damage. Fires burned on 3 decks. Half his weapons were offline that he did not care that a Dominion dreadnought moved toward a transport full of Renmari refugees. Its weapons charged. In seconds, 3,000 innocent lives would end. Santos looked at his crew. They looked back at him. No one spoke. No one needed to. "Full speed ahead," Santos said calmly. "Ram that dreadnought." The Long Memory accelerated. Warning alarms screamed. The helmsman did not flinch. They struck the dreadnought's side at maximum velocity, driving deep into its hull before both ships exploded in a ball of fire. The refugees survived. Santos had paid his debt. On the surface of the Renmari homeworld, Sergeant Nadia Webb led her Marines against Dominion landing forces. They fought through streets they had cleared 6 months ago, defending the same shelters, protecting the same people. Kieran fought beside them now. The young Renmari had trained with human soldiers. He was not strong like them, not fast like them, but he had learned to shoot. He had learned to fight. "Why did you come back?" he asked Webb during a brief pause in the fighting. "I never left," she replied. "None of us did." The battle raged for 18 hours. Slowly, impossibly, the tide turned. Dominion ships fell faster than they could destroy human vessels. The volunteers from other species fought with the same fury as the humans, proving that humanity's example had spread beyond their own kind. Warlord Dren watched his armada crumble. Half his ships were gone. His invasion force had been repelled. The humans would not break. They would not retreat. They would not surrender. "How?" he whispered. "How do they keep fighting?" Strategos Tuven stood beside him, watching the defeat unfold. "They are paying a debt, my lord. And humans pay their debts completely." Dren's flagship was the last to fall. Human Marines boarded it from 3 directions. They fought through his guards, cut down his officers, and finally reached his command chamber. Sergeant Webb led the assault team that found him. Dren faced her with his weapon raised. "You have destroyed everything." "No," Webb said. "You destroyed it when you attacked the Renmari. We just delivered the bill." She offered him surrender. He refused. The warlord died with human hands around his throat. The Dominion's armada had been broken. The price of cruelty had been paid in full. Peace came quietly, the way dawn follows the longest night. The Kasari Dominion sent their surrender 3 days after Warlord Dren died. Their Supreme Council had watched their greatest armada shatter against human resolve. They had seen their most feared commander fall to Deathworld soldiers. They understood, finally, that some debts could not be avoided. The terms were not negotiable. Full withdrawal from all Renmari territory. Reparations for every destroyed colony. A guarantee of permanent neutrality toward any species under human protection. The Dominion agreed to everything. They had no choice that on the Renmari homeworld, reconstruction had already begun. Human engineers worked alongside Renmari builders. Human doctors assisted Renmari healers. Children who had hidden in shelters 6 months ago now played in streets being cleared of rubble. Elder Solia watched all of this from a garden that had somehow survived the bombing. Flowers still grew here, bright against the gray ruins surrounding them. She was old. She was tired. But for the first time in months, she felt something like hope. Admiral Diana Cole found her there. Cole had aged during this war. More gray in her hair. More lines on her face. but her eyes held the same fire they had held when she first answered Solia's distress call. "Elder," Cole said, approaching slowly. "May I join you?" Solia gestured to a stone bench beside her. "Please." They sat together in silence for a moment, watching flowers sway in a gentle breeze. The sky above was clear now. No more fire. No more falling ships. "I wanted to thank you," Cole said finally. Solia looked at her with confusion. "Thank me? You saved my people. You sacrificed your ships, your soldiers, your friends. Why would you thank me?" "Because you saved us first." Cole's voice was soft. 40 years ago, you found a refugee fleet full of frightened humans. You could have ignored us. You could have sent us away. Instead, you brought us to your worlds and treated us like we mattered. She turned to face Solia fully. "My grandmother was on one of those ships. She was pregnant with my mother when your healers found her. She told me stories about your people, about how kind you were, how gentle, how you never asked for anything in return. We helped because it was right," Solia said simply. "Not for reward." "I know." Cole smiled. "That is exactly why we came. You showed us who you were when we had nothing. We could not call ourselves human if we abandoned you when you needed us." Solia was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached into her robes and pulled out a small pendant. It was made of woven silver, shaped like two hands clasped together. A Rinmari symbol of eternal gratitude. "This was given to my grandmother by her grandmother," Solia said. "It has been in my family for 3,000 years. I would like you to have it." Cole took the pendant carefully. It weighed almost nothing, but she felt the weight of its meaning. "I will treasure it," she said. Far away, in the Galactic Assembly Station, Counselor Mira prepared to address the gathered representatives of 1,000 worlds. The chamber was full. Every species had sent their highest officials. Everyone wanted to hear what would be said about humanity. Mira stepped to the speaking platform. The room fell silent. "We have spent the past 6 months watching events in the Rinmari system," she began. "We have debated what humanity's actions mean for galactic stability. We have asked whether humans are dangerous, whether they are allies, whether they should be feared or welcomed." She paused, letting her words settle. "I believe we have been asking the wrong questions." The chamber stirred with murmurs. Humans are not inherently violent or peaceful. They are not born allies or enemies. They are, above all else, consistent. Myra's voice grew stronger. They remember every kindness shown to them. They repay it beyond measure. They remember every cruelty inflicted upon them. They answer it without mercy. She looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives. "The question is not what humanity is. The question is, what have you done to them? If you showed them kindness when they were weak, they will remember. If you showed them cruelty, they will remember that too. If you ignored their suffering when you could have helped, they will remember." Mira let that sink in. Humanity honors every debt. Their vengeance echoes across worlds. Their gratitude echoes just as far. The choice of which echo reaches your species is entirely your own. She stepped back from the platform. The chamber remained silent. Every representative was thinking the same thing, reviewing their history with humanity, wondering what debts might be waiting to be called on the Rinmari homeworld. Admiral Cole prepared to return to Earth. Her mission was complete. The debt was paid. Her grandmother's story had come full circle. Kieran approached her before she boarded her shuttle. The young Rinmari stood straighter now, more confident. Training with human marines had changed him. "Admiral," he said, "I wanted to tell you something. Yes, my people will never forget what humanity did for us. We will tell our children. They will tell their children. For as long as Rinmari exist, we will remember the humans who came to save us." Cole smiled. "Then we understand each other." She boarded her shuttle and lifted off. Through the window, she could see Rinmari and humans working together in the ruins below, building something new from the ashes of something lost. Across the galaxy, word spread. Humanity honors every debt. They remember kindness. They remember cruelty. They never forget. Other species began reviewing their histories. Had they helped humans when humans were weak? Had they harmed them? Had they stood aside when they could have acted? The answers would matter, because humanity was watching, and their echoes would carry forever.